recommendation video for you. So anyway, lately I've been, well, not lately, but like most of us for a while, we've been looking into the AI thing. We didn't know that AI was there, we didn't understand algorithms and how people market to us and all that kind of thing. The science has been around a long time, but breakthroughs have been happening since the mid-2000s, and now things are advancing very rapidly, as you know. So yeah, it's coming across my YouTube. The algos are sending me all kinds of good articles and stuff. Anyway, I read a few good books, and I want to recommend them to you because I think it's important that we understand what's happening with AI and big data and generative artificial intelligence and the path to general artificial intelligence and all that kind of thing. And I have one quick insight that I thought of, which is kind of amusing to me. I was watching Curtis Yarvin talking to a couple of his intelligent fanboys, discussing mostly the war and Putin and all that stuff. And in general, what they talk about, or what Curtis says, doesn't really land with me much because he's always saying the same thing, and I've heard it all already. So, they're funny little inside jokes like can't get the Nazi out of Ashkenaz Nazi and things like that, which they laugh at their own jokes, which we do when we think we're smart, and I do it too. Anyway, so they were discussing it as if they know anything about any of it, really. But, we have our opinions that are all clouded and shaded by our ideological beliefs and our dogmas. So, their little clique is dogmatic, whether they like to think of themselves that way or not. And other little cliques are dogmatic. It's just that your dogmatism is better than their dogmatism. And that works in all of these cliques, whether it's the Nouvelle Trad or the Orthodox Christian or the, NRX or accelerationism or whatever cool, really hip, intelligent thing. What I always point out is that Indonesia, Nairobi, all around the world where the big populations are, they don't give a shit about any of us. We're not clever, we're not interesting, we're not relevant. I think it's great if you have an audience and a thing that you're interested in, and you have a forum and you can share your voice, and I'm all for it, and I like it and I consume it, but at the end of the day, does it matter? The things that matter, we're not going to care about. So AI, we're going to look the other way, and suddenly things are going to change, and we're not even going to notice how things have changed. And we'll be in a radically different world, and we'll wonder how we got here. In the meantime, conspiracy-minded people will be coming up with all the reasons why they did it to us, some cabal or little clique or the other people. Or the aliens or whatever wrecked us with this. But it's really human choices that were made that wrecked us. God created a neural network. It's called brains. And look what Homo sapiens did with theirs. We made YouTube and rocket ships. We went to the moon and, we did a lot of cool things. We also murdered the shit out of each other for centuries. And, it's been good, it's been bad, it's a mixed bag. If you're lucky, it's all good. If you're unlucky, it's all bad. We've known about suffering since the very beginning, and we haven't stopped suffering. So we either believe we can make things better or we don't. Progress, utilitarianism, oh my God, bugaboo words, Does anything have utility? Does believing in Jesus have some kind of utility in some abstract or transcendental way? A lot of people just can't look past their dogmas. They have to point fingers and say there's an ism there that's just totally wrong, and no part of it adheres or has anything to do with what we're into, because our thing is philosophy and metaphysics, and God help you if you're not into it. But people keep making things and doing science and math, and then they come up with these machines that can process data really, really quick, and these machines that can store data better and better, Moore's law and all that kind of stuff. And before you know it, you've got these AIs. I guess they're intelligent in some way, some definition of the word intelligent that doesn't apply to carbon-based life forms and gray matter and meat and so on. But anyway, so Curtis is a fun guy because it's like, it's not the garbage in, garbage out, but you're training these, algorithms, and you're training the AI to do something. You're prompting it, this plus that, and you have from the language something else like a queen, or this plus that. You have, McEnroe, or tennis plus cheeseburgers, you have whatever. And pretty soon it starts coming up with some really cool stuff. I'm not going to use the technical language because I'm not a technician, I'm not a programmer or a researcher or a theoretical mathematician. But anyway, so what happens is it starts doing things that seem miraculous and amazing, and it gets better and better really quick, just like when you teach a machine how to play Go, and you just leave it alone and it just starts playing Go with itself over and over again, billions of games, until it can beat everybody on the planet, every human being on the planet. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all this stuff. But with Curtis, it's like, yeah, he's been training himself with a certain kind of data set for years, the young, intelligent guy, and reading Carlyle and whoever he loves, and studying, Queen Elizabeth I, and hanging out with Peter Thiel, and doing some, programming and whatever he does, and writing his blog. And he's trained himself. He's got a shtick. All of the intellectual influencers have their shtick. I call it their deck. Their PowerPoint deck. They've memorized all of it. They have their insider jokes. They have their fan base, and they kind of get stuck in their bubble. And they start to think they're really funny and clever, and nobody else gets it. They know how to poke fun and dog whistling and memes and all that kind of stuff to say that your dogma's bullshit, my dogma's really good, And that's what they do. It's okay. It gets a little old after a while. But at the end of the day, they're not going to solve carbon capture. They're not going to come up with a new social economic system. They're not going to cure cancer, of any kind of cancer. They're not going to develop a more efficient electrical engine or battery storage, or batteries, or electricity storage systems. They're not going to figure out more efficient ways to farm and grow meat and feed the world. They're just going to hang out and have their little intellectual discussions, their little ideological circle jerk sessions, and laugh and think they're pretty damn clever. And hopefully they'll get some sponsorship, and they'll make some money along the way, take care of their families, and have fun with their friends. And I wish them the best, I really do. But their shit doesn't matter. It's all crap. And if you're anti-utilitarianism, that's fine. It's philosophic, just like if you're into skepticism in a philosophical sense or whatever, not in the pop, a skeptic's guide to the universe type way, but in the philosophic sense, if you're going to Descartes or Kant or whatever, but never mind. So he's trained himself with his little data set. And he thinks that the solutions that are coming out of his brain algorithm, his little dogmatic ideology, is somehow really clever and solves something, but it actually doesn't. It's like when an AI, you suddenly realize, seems to be racist, but it's really not. It's not the AI that's racist. It's the information that's going into it and the prompts and the questions that are being asked of it, the manipulations that we do. Just like, and I found this really interesting from this book that I'm reading now while I'm listening to the audiobook. It's called The Alignment Problem by Brian Christian, Machine Learning and Human Values. And I highly recommend this, but I've only gotten through a couple chapters, but it's really interesting. One thing that touched a nerve with me or excited me a bit was thinking about sensors on cameras. I've been in the film kind of video thing my whole life, so I know about trying to get skin tones. It may not seem like that when you see my videos because I'm not putting that much work into it. I don't have a team behind me, different departments taking care of things like lighting and photography and data management. But the sensors are not necessarily geared, programmed, engineered for certain skin tones. It's just not. We develop a machine, a system, and it may have biases in it inherently structured in to the design of the thing. And no matter what you do with the AIs or the learning systems that you apply to it, it's going to come up with some pretty messed up or askew results. It's the same with all human beings because we're all biased. So when the little clique, I don't know if you even call them NRX anymore, but whatever, with their CEO, kings, their little fantasies, floating cities and whatnot. There's things in there that are just totally messed up that they can't think through because they don't want to see it from that angle, from that perspective. There are so many little angles that you could view things and questions you can ask and domains of expertise you can delve into. There's so many, and a lot of them take decades to master. So, basically you're going through your deck over and over again and spewing what, you learn from your data set by asking certain questions. And then what comes out of it is your original idea that you think is so clever, but you're really just a meat parrot. You're a parrot. And, you don't matter. At the end of the day, your socioeconomic system that you haven't articulated, love or hate Marx and Engels, but they articulated something. If you delve into it, you might find out. But I'm not a Marxist, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Buddhist, and neither was Buddha, Marx, or Christ. But anyway, so that's just kind of a version of garbage in, garbage out. It's not necessarily garbage, it's just what human beings have come up with over the centuries and decades. And the questions we ask. So the moral and ethical dilemmas that we have, the social and structural and systemic problems are going to be there no matter what. These are human problems that have to be solved by human beings. Maybe someday in the future there'll be an AI that's a better human being than human beings, but I don't think there's any perfect human being, so why would there be a perfect AI? And the AI is going to get its garbage in from us. So we have to wise up and figure out how to make a wise AI. Otherwise, we're fucked, I guess. But anyway, The Alignment Problem, Machine Learning and Human Values by Brian Christian. And then a couple other ones that I looked at earlier. Superintelligence, Paths, Dangers, Strategies by Nick Bostrom. And he's a philosopher and researcher that delves into potential risks and so on of AI and superintelligence and that kind of stuff. So he looks at, outcomes, scenarios, if we do this, if we do that with AI technology, what's going to happen, and how it pertains to the long-term future of humanity. But I'm just hoping we have time to do all this stuff because things seem to be accelerating. That might be an illusion, but it seems like, and you don't have the power to do anything about it. And you're not going to do anything about it. You're not going to get together with your neighbors and get together at church and have meetings about it, learn about it, read a bunch of books, and then go and talk to your leaders, corporate CEOs, managers, politicians, and say, look, we think we should take this approach because we're concerned. You're going to be swept up into it, not knowing what the heck happened. And then one day, seemingly overnight, but it won't seem like that at all, you'll wake up and you won't be in control of anything anymore. The machine will be programming you. The machine always programs you. The books and the environment and the education that Curtis Yarvin had programmed him. And he knows this. And he thinks it programmed him pretty damn well, and that he's pretty damn smart, and he had some agency in developing the algorithms and asking the questions and writing the prompts for his brain so that he could come up with the genius of his unique contribution to whatever, science, technology, programming, philosophy, social economic, I don't know. Anyway, very good entertainment for some people, weirdos like me. All right, so do we have a long-term future? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I think we got all the nuke thing going on. We got this war problem. Everybody knows what Putin thinks. There's no fog of war. Running a country isn't a complex thing. We got Xi Jinping, Putin, other people like that. They can have more executive control, which is attractive to some people. And in the States, we compare the leaders in the U.S. I think they're idiots. But anyway, you're going to put Blinken up there and say he's a genius leader, like Henry Kissinger 2.0 or something like that. And these people are all greedy, careerist people anyway. So they've been programmed and programmed themselves with their own prompts. And some of this is just for status, to get love and attention, to be validated, and all that kind of stuff. And so by a few bits of luck, happenstance, they wind up at the Secretary of State or something. And they're important people and what they do matters, but they're still kowtowing to a system, and there's still money. So they don't know shit. And I think the quality of their leadership is idiotic. So yeah, point your finger over there. There's 4 fingers pointing back at you. So the next book is Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence by Max Tegmark. And he's a pretty interesting guy. I've listened to and read stuff.
A lot of people have said for many years that there will come a time when we want to pause a little bit. That time is now.
The following is a conversation with Max Tegmark, his 3rd time on the podcast. In fact, his first appearance was episode number 1 of this very podcast.
Because if it's true, it means that life is quite rare, and we are stewards of this one spark of advanced consciousness, which if we nurture it and help it grow, eventually life can spread from here out into much of our universe, and we can have this just amazing future. Whereas if we instead are reckless with the technology we build, and just shortly thereafter superintelligence, which greatly exceeds our cognitive abilities, it's going to either be the best thing ever to happen to humanity or the worst. I'm really quite confident that there is not that much middle ground there. So many smart people are looking at this and trying to figure out little leaps here and there, and it becomes this sort of collective race where a lot of people feel if I don't take the leap, someone else will. And it is actually very crucial for the other part of it. Why do we want to slow this down? So again, what this open letter is calling for is just pausing all training of systems that are more powerful than GPT-4 for 6 months. Just give a chance for the labs to coordinate a bit on safety and for society to adapt, give the right incentives to the labs. Because you've interviewed a lot of these people who lead these labs, and just as well as I do that they're good people. They're idealistic people. They're doing this first and foremost because they believe that AI has a huge potential to help humanity. And
so he's a physicist and AI research guy, and he's looking at the transformational impact and so on of technology and artificial intelligence. And again, looking at the benefits and the risks, and there are benefits, lots and lots of benefits and risks. I think it's really helpful to use Chat GDP as a research tool, to ask it some fairly detailed questions, to talk about references and people you want it to look into and maybe summarize their work and so on. It saves you so much time Googling and whatnot and reading through papers. And then you can delve deeper and deeper into references as you go along, in your research. And if you finally find out you have to read this 240-page, paper or this 800-page book to accomplish what you want to do, then you go and you do it. But, you used to have to hire people to do that and pay them money. And they probably bought food and paid for insurance and their kids' education. And now I don't need any of them. That really cool guy in Manila, hey, all right? I'm not gonna name names, but I don't need you anymore, man. Yeah, so there you go. So AI, the next book is AI Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order by Kai-Fu Lee. So he's another one of these prominent AI experts and researchers, but he's also a venture capitalist and all that kind of stuff. And he's looking at the China-US interface and what's going on. And trust me, China has a lot of data because it's got a lot of people and they're using a lot of technology. So if all the agencies are scarfing up our data day in and day out without much real regard to ethics, just imagine what they're doing in China. And
this one was about 120 years ago, when three amazing inventions changed the next 120 years. And those three were electricity, electromagnetic wave, and combustible engine. Of course, you might say, okay, yeah, so combustible engine created Ford, and electricity created General Electric, in which case they might have some kind of subsidy that will help us reduce the cost of investment. So these are the things we do on our, so the giant wet lab robot, these types of generation of data for AI, the combination of large data and AI is great for China. The last of the five is sustainable technologies. We know that with synthetic biology, we can kill all the competition and become a monopoly. That isn't going to happen. Instead, you need to understand the technology and match it with business value and form a company that has the right kind of talent.
Again, for the benefit of our students and other faculty, is that if people do not come, they have not been doing AI for 30 years. They have not even doing AI for 15 years, 10 years. But there are a lot of opportunities. Obviously, we need expert knowledge in other areas.
They're in control of it, and it's a merit-based leadership system. So if they say to somebody, scarf up all the data and use it for this, that, or the other thing, and they don't accomplish it, they get booted out. They're no longer a leader in the CCP, right? They're gone. It's not like, I'm going to be an idiot and sell myself because I'm attractive and can talk bullshit and raise money and tell you I'm going to do something for you like ban Fritos and you're going to vote for me, and I'm going to go, I don't ban Fritos. I do what, my donors tell me. And I say things for effect, so I get hits and likes. And so when they do the polls, William T is right up there and he's going to get reelected, and I'm going to keep my pretty little suits and my staff, and I'm going to be an important person. So anyway, over there in China, they're working for it. So we have our multipolar trap. We have our potential tragedy of the commons. We have our arms race, only it's an AI arms race. And nothing's going to stop it. The genie is out of the bottle, folks. And so we're going to have to live with what happens. And we're not going to get in control with it because we don't have time. We're busy people. We got to pay for the truck. We got to go on vacation. We got to pay for our insurance. We're getting squeezed. We have to be cannon fodder for wars because our asshole leaders can't be peacemakers. They have to have enmity because it's more profitable than peace. Yeah, I said it last time. I'll say it again. Repeat the truth. The truth isn't a trickster. It's subtle. It's hard to ferret out. It's not there to trick you. It's there to make you work for it a little bit. And once you find it out, it's interesting and it's useful. Oh no, the truth is utilitarian. Obviously not. It's handed down from on high, written on slab stones, and then brought down the mountain and articulated by a prophet. And then we obsess over it for thousands of years. Well, we're making Lumix cameras that I make videos on. Wow, just imagine why. There's a market for it. It's profitable. Yeah, so he discusses the, societal and ethical issues again, like all of them do, and it's important, and you need to look into it. I would recommend that you do, just so that your lights are on, and maybe you'll have a little bit more capacity to harness your agency to do something if you feel something needs to be done. And if you don't, never mind. Just let's wait and see what happens. You can watch it in real time now. The slow motion, whatever it is no longer slow motion or fast motion. It's just happening. The volume of it, everything is just, it's faster. What do I want to say? The velocity and the impact and our ability to really make heads or tails of any of it don't exist. You have to memorize your rhetoric, make your little PowerPoint deck, read a few books and become expert in them so you can quote them ad nauseum. Find your little clique and pretend that everything you think is the most important thing in the whole wide world, and that your dogma is better than my dogma. And then you have to laugh and joke and hurl memes at me to show me how foolish and stupid I am, so that you can laugh and giggle with your clique. Human, all too human. Okay, that's my recommendations for the day. William T. Out.